T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here's your career affirmation. You're going to rock that interview and get that job. Hey, happy Thursday, everyone. This is episode 23. I'm Anna Morgan, your career BFF, rescuer of animals and careers, founder of the BFF method to job search strategy, behind the recruiter curtain, focused and fulfilling strategy, and fabulous self-love, getting you on the road to your dream positions day in and day out while taking care of yourself and getting the insider track on how to level up, communicate effectively with recruiters, and accelerate opportunities to ideal work that lights you up, makes you happy, makes you feel good about getting out of that bed every morning and snatching that paycheck. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm grateful for you every single week, week after week. We got Usama in the house. So great to see you, friend. My buddy is TJ is here. I am so excited to have you guys with us today. So this is the Behind the Recruiter Curtain week. We are digging into some best practices on how to prepare for that recruiter call. So a recruiter reaches out to you and says, hey, TJ, I really like your background. Here's my Calendly link. Would love to set up an interview with you for this technical administrator job. Perfect. Okay. So you get the link and then you get the confirmation email that says, okay, now we are talking. We are scheduled to have a conversation with a recruiter. So it could be a recruiter that works for a corporation. It could be an agency recruiter. It could be an executive recruiter. It could be a retained recruiter. What I'm going to teach you today applies to all different types of recruiters. So I would love for you to share in the comments, what are some of the things that you do when you are preparing to speak to a recruiter that has reached out to you and said, hey, Usama, hey, TJ, hey, Timothy, I'm interested in talking to you about this specific job. So drop it in the comments and I'm going to get my presentation ready. Again, I'm so happy you're here. And clearly I'm feeling better than I was feeling last week. That was a rough live. For those of you that showed up, I see you and I appreciate you. All right. I should have brought something up to stairs to drink, but I was so in excitement to share this information with you because this is what I do every single day. Y'all know I'm a recruiter. And what do recruiters do? We recruit people and we talk to people every single day. And I typically interview about 6 to 10 people a day. So I talk a lot. And yes, TJ, I am in my office. I moved back in my office from my bed. So I it's cold here in Georgia now, so I got my UGG boots on and I got my little scarf on. It's supposed to be, it was like freezing this morning. So, all right. So let me know, what are some of the things that you do to prepare for your recruiter screens? Do you just make sure it's on the calendar? Do you look ahead of time to see if you're calling the person or they're calling you? Is it a phone interview? Is it a Teams interview? Is it a Google interview? Is it a Zoom interview? Oh my God, there's so many moving parts. Most recruiters start with just the old-fashioned phone screen. Give me some thumbs up if that has been your experience, okay? All right, so we're going to talk about the Recruiter's Guide to Phone Screens. It's all the things that recruiters don't tell you, but we really want to tell you. So you can rely on your Career BFF to tell you where it's at and what's up and what we're thinking. Because here's the secret, friends. The recruiters, we make the decision if your resume gets to the hiring manager, okay? Now, there's a lot of ways to work around this, recruiters, but we're kind of a big deal when it comes to making these decisions. So I'm going to give you the inside scoop. Okay, here are 8 basic things that I want all my Career BFFs to do when you're getting ready to talk to a recruiter. Hello, Julie. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. All right, step 1. I'm all about the steps. If you know, you know. Research the company. Now, we have this super amazing friend named Google, and she provides a lot of really great information for us, right? Google, research the company. Look at their company website. Definitely go to their LinkedIn company page. Click through the tabs. On a company page, you can see insights, you can see posts, you can find people, you can see a variety of data that will prepare you to interview well with your recruiter. All right. So I always recommend, if you have applied and you're interested in said company, why don't you go ahead and hit the follow button of that company? Because I will tell you, when recruiters are running searches, one of the criterias or spotlights that it shows us is, has Usama engaged with my company's brand before? So LinkedIn is telling me if you are interested already in the company that I'm representing. So hit that follow button of the company that you are speaking to. Step 3 is look at your LinkedIn connections. Are you currently connected to anyone at the company? Do you have mutual connections even outside of the company? Definitely take a moment to look at those connection points. Number 4, if you have connections at the company, go look at their profile, analyze the profile from the cover image to the headline, to the about section, to the experience section, to the recommendations, to the groups that they're involved in, to the places that they are commenting and engaging on the platform. That can give you so much insight into those connections that work at the company that you're about to do a phone screen with, okay? Number 5 is, if you're talking to the recruiter, you definitely want to visit that recruiter's profile, because storytelling and connection is what drives opportunity, in my humble opinion. So if you can connect with that recruiter, if you land on my profile and you see that I love rescue dogs and I love lacrosse and I'm a champion of the underdog, and you have a story that relates to that, you're going to have a higher probability, a higher chance of connecting with that recruiter and making an impression. And when we make an impression, what are we? We are memorable. And when we are memorable, we are top of mind. And when we are top of mind, that likely means that your experience, your awesomeness, and your resume has a higher probability and chance of getting into the right hands. Okay? When you are looking at the company or the recruiter page, definitely dig into that about section, whether it's on the candidate, on the recruiter profile, or on the company profile. Do you understand, number 7, the product or service and a little bit of history of the company that you're interviewing with? This really tells a big story because attention to detail matters with recruiters. And we want to work with talent that's showing an interest in us. So when you understand the product or the service or the brand, it definitely makes an impression. The very last thing, step 8, is make sure that you study the job description. This will empower you to pull the stories from your experience that go with the job description. If the job description is heavily focused on high volume outbound calls to follow up on, customers who didn't get their product, right? And you have done that. You definitely want to pinpoint a moment in your brain or in your notes to talk about the problem, the action, and the result that you had when you worked with customers that had sent an email inquiry that they hadn't received their product and maybe they were upset. What was the problem? What were the action steps that you took to solve the problem? And what were the results? Okay, so simple PAR interview answer questions. Some people might want to do the STAR, which in my mind is just an extra step. I like to simplify things: problem, action, result. So these are the 8 minimal things that I recommend that you do when you're about to work with a recruiter. Okay, so now we are ready for the actual call. Make sure that I spelled calendar wrong. Oh, well, that's my ADD. Make sure you have it on your calendar. And if you're like me and you have 3 different calendars, make sure that you take a moment to put it on all of your calendars, right? Put it on a sticky note, put it on write it on your mirror in your bathroom, whatever you have to do to make sure that you're there. Do you have clarity on who you are speaking to? Sometimes people get on the phone with me and they're like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's really sad because I'm the senior recruiter that's working on this job." Here's the deal. Make sure your environment is as distraction-free as possible. We understand kids, spouses, dogs, mailmen, Amazon people, whatever stuff happens, but try to make a conscientious effort to be in a place where you can take the call and focus, because being present makes a difference. So you also want to track these calls. If you're like a hot, potato and you're awesome and you're getting tons of interviews, make sure that you're prioritizing these, right? And don't say yes to positions that you don't think are the right fit for you. But I also want to say that with a caveat is don't overly disqualify yourself from positions. I had a gal reach out to me recently where she was basically underselling herself for a position. She didn't think it was a fit. And I thought it was such a shame because no conversation is ever wasted. So anytime you have a chance to talk to a recruiter, assuming that you have some interest in the position, I recommend that you go for it. Okay. Prioritize and track the calls. If you're not feeling it, cancel it. Extend the professional courtesy to the recruiter. Don't ghost them. We know that ghosting is a problem on both sides. And then the second thing that I see is a lot of people don't follow the instructions in the actual invite. If the invite is not clear, you have the right to ask questions. Am I supposed to call you? Are you calling me? Is this a video interview or just a phone call? If they have reached out and expressed interest, you have the right, okay? Make sure you check time zones. A lot of people are hiring nationally, internationally even. So you want to triple check, use a app like Time Buddy or some other time zone that makes you understand and have clarity on, are you going to be in the right place at the right time? And again, are they calling you? Are you calling them? Follow the instructions, because this is kind of like the first statement of work of, how Julie would do when she comes into my experience, right? Is she following the instructions, right? Now we're going to get into.
Hi, I'm here for the interview with all my baggage. Pity party. All the times I've been ghosted. Not trusting recruiters. Negotiating. Don't take old baggage into new experiences with recruiters.
So that is an old video that I did, but it is very valid. Treat each new encounter and each recruiter with a fresh start, right? The powerful place of LinkedIn is that it can follow our careers from beginning to end. So we never want to burn bridges. We never want to take old baggage into position or into conversations. We always keep the door to the past open to learn from situations. So best way to accelerate opportunities is high energy, positive attitude, and then transparency, right? Being honest about the position. So going back to attention to detail matters. Some of the things that most recruiters look for is that concise presentation of your career story. Do you know your resume? Is your profile optimized? Does it complement the resume or vice versa? Are you in that energy of partnership, collaboration, and mutual determination of, is this the right fit? And then strategic follow-up. These are the basic components of how I coach my clients to be successful with recruiters. Okay, so remember, recruiters decide if your resume gets to the hiring manager. Your communication and energy matters. Are you articulate and clear in your career stories? What is your tone? What is your vibe and your rapport? I did an interview this week where the energy with the person I was talking to was almost combative. She basically cut me off when I was talking. She tried to correct me. When she was trying to ask for clarity, she came across as defensive. And so it was a really uncomfortable conversation. And I kept trying to turn it around. But how we show up to these conversations matters, because it also gives us an indication of your general communication style. And if this person was somewhat combative with me, like, how are they going to perform in front of my hiring team, right? So focus on your impact. I made a TikTok or a reel the other day because I had a gentleman, he just kept going into, well, I had 28 years working in a store manager and 15 years as a supervisor and 5 years as such and such. And here's the deal. We want to hire the most qualified person for the position. And yes, some positions experience matters, but for the most part, I want to know about your impact. I want to know what you've done. Whose lives did you change? How did you save the company money? Are you telling a story in service of the job that we are talking about? Do the stories demonstrate your capabilities, your character, your core competencies that match and tell me, that indicate to me, that build trust with me, that you can execute on the functions that are listed in the job description? And obviously, being agreeable and pleasant goes a really long way, because recruiters are human too. And we generally are in this business because we do enjoy helping people and we like connecting the dots. And I consider it an absolute privilege every single day to get up and help change people's lives and be a part of the work that they get to do day in and day out. So remember, it is a conversation. Are you telling those stories where you're verifying your skills and impact? Can you dig in? A lot of times in my phone screens, I have to tell people, like, can you dig into that story just a little bit more? Because they'll say things in general terms, and general terms are forgettable. Stories are memorable, and they make you stand out. And again, kind of tying in your impact in your stories into the job description. That's why going back to step 8 on studying that job description is really, really powerful. Okay. So obviously level up your career story, but you also want to make sure you're establishing your fit. So you need to have clarity around what you want in your career. You need to be able to articulate it. If you get a recruiter that throws you the softball or horrible question of just tell me about yourself, right? Being able to nail that 30-second to 1-minute pitch. But again, rapport, pleasantries, making it a conversation is super powerful. And then, give up-to-date relevant information, especially if you're pivoting, how you have kept your skills up to date. What are some of the creative things that you've done that have elevated your skills as you've been in transition? That could be learning LinkedIn, that could be taking courses, that could be volunteering. Get creative, because remember, 40% of employers value volunteer work just as much as work experience. So if you have been out of work or in a long-term career transition, look at, are you volunteering? Where have you been of service? You are still acquiring skills and using skills through that experience. And then don't be afraid to talk about your connection with the brand or the service. Have you bought the product before? Have you experienced the brand in some way, shape, or form? And how did you find this opportunity? What is your history with the brand, the company, the organization? Those, again, are memorable, and recruiters like candidates that are interested, okay? So the last thing, when I get to the end of a conversation with job seekers, a lot of times I'm a really good recruiter and I give a lot of information at the start. But when people don't have questions, it seems like they're uninterested. So ask about the company, ask about the job description, ask about the culture, ask about the hiring team, ask about, what is the golden thread of the people that have been successful in this team. Asking informed questions, again, shows interest and is memorable. So I recommend that, you take the time, work on these open-ended questions. If you ever need help, I did post a 35 great questions to ask in an interview. I think it was yesterday, so you can download that. And that was created by Jeff Haddon, who is an Inc. author. He collected a bunch of questions from a bunch of people, and I packaged it up and put it in that freebie. So phone screens, your energy matters. I can't tell you how many times I've called someone and it's like they just woke up out of bed and they're like, who are you? What's the position again? Make sure you know what the position and the company is that you're talking to. When you're talking on to the recruiter, if you don't have a description of the company on your resume, I definitely recommend that you ground the conversation and give us a little bit of history with the company. You would say something like, when I worked for ABC Company, it was a 600-person e-commerce company that sold plants, right? So at least I'm connecting the dots that that this company sells a product, right? Because recruiters are looking to connect those dots. And then make sure you practice, because practice equals confidence. And then be careful in over customizing your resume. This is where I find people get into trouble, because they don't remember and they're looking at the resume and they're like, what did I say there? So that's something to think about. Now, when you get to the end of a phone screen, and here's the deal, transparency and honesty is always going to win. Do we like each other enough for a next step? This is where kind of recruiting and job seeking is a little like finding your next person to spend the rest of your life with. So recruiters are determining if we feel good about putting your experience, your personality, your content in front of the hiring team, right? It's also your chance to vet the recruiter, the company. This is your time to leverage that two-way street. So ask the questions, dig in, build the relationship with the recruiter. And if you feel it's not aligned, let the recruiter know, because we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our team's time. And then if the recruiter is, giving you feedback that they're struggling to find the fit, definitely respect their professional opinion, because that's what we're hired to do. But also ask, hey, can I give you a little bit more information and see if I can change your mind about it, right? Because maybe you didn't tell the right story, and that's what's leading the recruiter to be like, I'm not seeing it. And embrace those recruiters that are willing to give you feedback, because it is difficult in our seat, because a lot of times hiring managers are worried that we might get sued if we give you too much feedback. But again, people like me, heart-centered recruiters, we want to give you as much as we can to help you be successful. Also, strategic follow-up matters. Use the same language of your theme, your brand in your follow-up calls. And then when you're wrapping up the call with a recruiter, ask them how they like to be engaged, right? Hey, Anna, thank you so much for the time. When is a good time to follow up with you? And I'll say, typically my hiring managers respond in 2 business days. If you don't hear from me from Friday, shoot me a text or give me a call, right? So set up the call to figure out next steps. Recruiters are really busy people. So when you do follow up, whether it's text or email, direct message, whatever it may be, keep it short, concise, but make sure you always leverage the position that you interviewed for. That's super, 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 super helpful to say, hey, Usama, we spoke about the senior recruiter position on November 15th. I was just following up to see if I'll be getting a next step with the hiring team, right? And then be transparent and upfront about competing opportunities, because recruiters are basically like air traffic controllers. We are not mind readers. We are not magicians. If you don't tell us that you've got other opportunities in the hopper, then we will think that you're ghosting us or you don't like us, and that might lead to different decisions. So recruiters are here to be of service, to advocate for you, to manage and project manage the situation. So you're always going to be better off being upfront and transparent, so we can manage those timelines for you. All right. So listen, we want you. All right. So don't be afraid to execute on some of these strategies. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Obviously, you can find me most frequently here on LinkedIn and sometimes on Instagram. I'm not on Clubhouse that much anymore. But I am hosting an audio only event this evening at 6:00 called Ask a Recruiter. So I will be joined by Orlando Haynes, Jess Lara, and Tabitha Kavanaugh, all amazing recruiters. So if this didn't fill your cup all the way to the top and you want more recruiter, Ask a Recruiter, you get a recruiter, come tonight at 6:00. I'll drop the link in the chat. Let me know what you guys thought about that. Was that helpful? Did you learn anything new? Any light bulbs go off? I would love to hear from you. So let me know. And if you have any additional questions, drop them here at the chat. But we are right at the 30-minute mark. So I'm moving along. So glad that you all are here. I love that you're saying hello in the comments. And we will be back next week for Focused and Fulfilling Strategy. So this is the tactical things in all things job search that are not recruiter related. So if you have any particular questions around general job search strategy, resume best practices, LinkedIn best practices, salary negotiation, interview prep, any of that, hit me up and I am happy to be of service. So next week is Thanksgiving. So we are going to honor Thanksgiving and not go live, which I feel really odd saying that because I have been so proud of myself for going live 23 weeks in a row. But I love my family and I love Thanksgiving. And so I plan to be fully present for that event. And we will be back on Thursday, November 3rd. So I love and adore each and every one of you. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you need support. I am meeting with a couple of you one-on-one. Usama, I know I owe you some times for us to go live together. So I will get my act together there. And Julie and I need to connect. TJ and I are connecting. So don't hesitate to reach out now that I feel better. Definitely going to be trying to open up my calendar as much as possible between now and the end of the year to support you all on your career journey. All right. Have a wonderful day.